When you think of the word disability, what do you think of?
Multiple sclerosis,
Autism,
Down syndrome.
paraplegia.
blindness.
There are lots of different types of disabilities. Some are visible and some are invisible. The ones we just mentioned are visible disabilities, things that are evident when you first look at a person. But what about the other types of disabilities, such as
Fibromyalgia,
sleep apnea,
Insomnia.
bipolar disorder?
ADHD,
These are called invisible disabilities. People are impacted by these types of disabilities as well, although it's not immediately evident upon looking at a person. We all make snap judgments about people without knowing their whole story. This is Laura. She is a Masters of Social Work student who loves karaoke, dancing, and yoga. She also has a severe form of lupus called systemic lupus erythematosus that is a long-term autoimmune disease and, dependent on the person, may affect the skin, joints, kidney, brain, and other organs. Lupus is also an invisible disability.
I have experienced a number of hardships, including a chronic illness that could have led to losing interest in my studies both in and out of the classroom. Since I was diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus at age 7, I have been told by loved ones that I could not continue school and could not become independent because of my health condition. After hearing that and having to deal with it constantly, I gathered my courage and proved them wrong. I can be successful in education and become a great social worker too. I too can live happily despite my health condition.
Tell us, what is lupus like for you?
Lupus is a very challenging illness, and what it looks like for me is that it affects me in physically, psychologically, and socially. Definitely, it has its flare-ups, which are critical period of time when the disease activity is at its highest. It causes the symptoms to be worse, and I would get inflammation, and my hands would turn purple when I'm like outside in the cold, and I would get fatigue and stuff like that.
All right, yeah. What is the typical day like for you then with a flare-up? How does that affect you?
Well, a typical day with me with a flare-up is definitely more difficult, just because I have, like, for instance, say I have arthritis pain. I would not be able to get up, like, just get up in the morning and brush my teeth, wash my face, do all these chores, or even cook breakfast or make breakfast. I would have to I would have to lay on my bed for about 30 to 40 minutes or so, and then I could get up, because the pain is just really intense and really stiff all over my body. I think I'm usually slower on days that I have flare-ups, and I usually talk slower too.
So what then, in contrast, what does a day when you're not having a flare-up look like?
Well, a day without flare-up, I feel like is just a normal day, you know? I can do things that almost like everyone can do. I can just talk faster, walk faster, brush my teeth, comb my hair, take a shower, all that. Versus a day with flare-up, I can't do those things.
Sure. So have you noticed that people who don't know you have that you have lupus treat you any differently than people who do know you have lupus?
Definitely, I think people who know that I have lupus treat me differently because, well, first of all, they know I have lupus, and then second of all, they treat me, I guess, more nicely or more sympathetically, or for example, my grandma and my sister, they would always they would cook all my meals and just, I don't know, sometimes they make me feel like I'm kind of handicapped or dependent on them, which isn't how I want them to perceive me, because, I mean, although I do have lupus, I'm still capable of doing things on my own. Yeah, so I just don't want them to like talk to me like in a slow motion kind of way, just because they know I have lupus, and lupus does affect the brain, and I don't want them to feel sorry for me either, and I just don't want them to treat me any differently.
Of course.
Yeah.
So how are you coping with lupus today?
Today, although like living with lupus has definitely taught me many valuable lessons, and the fact that it is a chronic illness, meaning that I do have it for life. It requires me to self-monitor myself every single day. Just monitoring my symptoms, more than those who don't have a disability. And I recently saw my rheumatologist, and she said I'm doing way better than before.
That's great.
Yeah. And also I know where to find the resources and help, have the numbers that I need to call, such as my doctor's numbers and my counselor numbers and psychologist numbers. And I also have to eat healthy. There are some foods that I can eat and can't eat, but I definitely should stay away from the ingredient of hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated oils, because that's really bad for people who have lupus, according to my nutritionist.
Oh, okay.
So,
what do you hope people take away from this in regard to invisible disabilities?
well, I definitely hope people will be open in getting to know the other individual and ask questions and not just judge them by not judge a book by its cover.
Great message. Yeah. Thanks, Laura.
No problem.